These are the truth glasses. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob, the unjitter space. We don't jitter here. We boogaloo, but we don't jitter. Jitter is that existential space that Shakespeare talked about in Hamlet. You know, when Hamlet killed everyone he loved and he was sitting on the throne and his psychopath buddy was bouncing around the throne room, go, we won, we won, we won. And everyone, their bodies everywhere, blood everywhere, things on fire, pants on fire, liar, liar, pants on fire. And, his buddy goes, Hamlet, what's wrong? You're always down, but man, you should be at least celebrating. We won, we won. What's wrong? And Hamlet goes, he says a lot, but then the real crux to his little soliloquy is that all I have to look forward to is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And signing on for what, you're told to believe, in, Orwell's 1984, Big Brother, the only real commandment was you need to don't believe your eyes or your ears, just believe what we tell you. And that's, we've always kind of been in that space. If I'm a big reader of the Bible, pretty much, while, it's starting from leaving the garden, and what, has to be, and God, made everything, knows everything. So he knew Adam and Eve were going to eat that apple, and he let them do it because he knew that they needed to have that teachable moment, right? So here's a teachable moment. If you are a paying taxes anywhere that puts money into war, this is you're responsible for this. You've got stock holdings in Boeing and Lockheed Martin and Grumman and Raytheon. You can have.
Anytime I have to use my memory, anytime cognitive function is important, which is most of the things that I.
So here is, they're not targeting civilians. I just want to show you that. That's what they're not.
Oh, I thought they were.
So don't pretend. So you had to. What's that Orwell quote? You had to not believe your own eyes and ears. This was their final and most essential command.
No, those are all Hamas.
This is all
I don't know why
Hamas.
they let him build so many Hamas buildings and Hamas things.
So this is what they're doing to Gaza.
I mean, war's a tragedy, Jimmy. You know how it is. Hey, you know how it is.
War's hell, Kurt.
I mean, it's unfortunate, and I feel bad for anyone losing their life. Not Hamas's, though.
So let me just tell you, God didn't tell you to do this. God didn't tell you to do this. You know who told you to do this? The power-hungry psychomaniacs who run your country told you to do this on television. That's who told you to do this. Isn't it weird? Other people told you to do this, not God, and you bought it. Funny how God keeps agreeing with you no matter what you say. Isn't that wild?
No,
and by the way, let's do one more. This guy says, how can one call this a war on Hamas? This level of destruction in Bet Hanun only serves to make Gaza uninhabitable. To leave 2.3 million Palestinians with nothing to return to so they won't return? Biden attended Israel's war cabinet and approved the war plan.
Well, maybe they should have thought about that before their grandparents voted for Hamas many years ago.
So this kind of destruction is doing for the Israeli cause of Zionism what Amber Heard did for the Me Too movement.
Really making us believe in it more?
Here's some more. Take it down. Thanks.
Oh boy.
They're just going after Hamas, everybody.
I thought Hamas is underground. That's weird.
That's weird. They're just going after Hamas. This is what they're doing. And this is what they didn't want us to see, which is why they didn't want to do a ceasefire until they did all this, so the people in Gaza have nothing to return to.
Well, that's silly. I didn't even want to see the pictures of what we did to Iraq.
This isn't about religion. It's about the people who love power hiding behind a religion. Just like all the other religions, they get infiltrated by those kinds of people. It's what always happens. This is why George Carlin said he didn't like clubs. Not comedy clubs, but any clubs, groups of people. When they get together, they end up doing shit like this.
I mean, it's a kind of religion.
So, if you want to get a look at what they're doing in Gaza, that's what they're doing. That's how they're fighting Hamas.
Well, if you just want to see where your tax money went.
If you want to see where your tax money's going, yeah.
I'd be curious. Like the Pentagon failed another audit. They can't keep track of it, but there it is. Hey, you can't argue with results.
We're doing live comedy shows in Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California.
So, the day before 9/11 and 9/10, back there in 2001, good old Rumsfeld went on TV and said, hey, because the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal came out with a story that said that just in the 6 or 7 months that the Bush Cheney administration had been in power, they misplaced, couldn't count the beans on $2.7 trillion. Where did that go in 7 months? Boy, that was one heck of a party, don't you think? And the news guys, what happened? And Runs goes, don't worry, I got it covered. I got everybody who's really important in on this, who knows where every nickel went. All the people in the military who are accountants, who take care of this, who have every receipt, have every floppy disk, have all the computer records, all the files. We got everything. We're going through it right now in the Pentagon. Next day, at one place that got hit in the Pentagon was this, section that of the Pentagon that had been remodeled. Right, the whole thing had been remodeled, but this was the last, and they kind of cleared it all out of everything, and they were going to make it bomb-proof. But this was the one place that was vulnerable, this one little slot, and they put all of those people, the 130 people who knew everything about where that $2.7 trillion went, and they had all the beans, all the records, the receipts, the floppy disks, every file. They had it all. Bang! It gets hit. They all die. All of that data is destroyed. We never hear about that $2.7 trillion again, right? And where the thingamajig hit those two boyfriends of the WTC. It came down, right? And at number 7, that came down, and there were a few other buildings that came down you never heard of, but they never got hit by airplanes. I wonder why. And there was a section that the Treasury had one of its gold vaults right under, and it was just where that new tunnel that they were building to bring water to New York was. It had no water in it, just the same as that movie, that Die Hard movie with the white guy and the black guy in the cab, right? Same thing. Movies, first you'd make the movies and then they do it. Go watch the movie done in the 70s or 80s with when Sean Connery didn't want to be 007 because he didn't want to be typecast. He basically was in these pretty interesting movies like Time Bandits, A Man Who Would Be King, a few other really good ones. And this one called Everything You Know Is Not True, or something of that nature. And it's about, he's a news guy like Walter Cronkite, really famous. Everybody wants to be interviewed with him. And he's in the Mideast, and he's got his own camera, his own video camera, and or movie camera, and he's shooting all of the major domos of of the Mideast, right? Jewish and Arab, and they're all making deals, right? And he's trying to say, hey, these wars are just these guys are making deals. It's like a pretend, and it's all about money, oil, and power. It's not about religion. It's not about people's rights. It's not about any of that, right? So go see that movie, right? It's Sean Connery in the 70s, early 80s. Everything you know is not true, or something like that. And it's a great movie because it was the movie that described exactly who did what to bring down the WTC. Really amazing. And if you really want to get a good, interesting view of the WTC, go read Architects and Engineers um, for 9/11 Truth, right? And, it's interesting about truth. What is truth? It's whatever you want to believe is truth. I mean, we have been going, since Jack Kennedy got whacked. And if you can go even further back, since, um, you know, um, the Spanish Civil War, when we had a big modern steel navy and the Spanish still had, wooden ships but they had this big empire in the Pacific and we wanted it. And Spain said, hey, don't attack us. Hey, it's yours. But we had to have a war. So we had the good old yellow journalism of Mr. Hearst and Mr. Pulitzer. Right. Pulitzer was the biggest yellow journalist there was. All the wars against the Indians, against the Mexicans, all of that came, it's like, those guys who were in the fort. And so we had to go to war with Mexico and take, all of that property that's now California, Texas, Nevada, New Mexico. All of that was Mexico. And we took it because of that fort that went down with Bowie and all those guys, right? And these tropes have been going on forever. So let's see if I can read any of what you guys are saying. Truth. Did you watch? Did I watch one? Yesterday. John, our boy, the saint of suffering, name of the rose. Yep. Dr. Judy Wood. Yep. Oh yes, Dr. Judy Wood. I love that girl. Right. I saw her. We were at my girlfriend, who was the smartest human in the world. We went to a IEEE conference in Boston, and I had done something earlier, maybe 4 years before that at the UN, where the World Wide Web had just kind of came online, and we did a conference around the world of alternative technologies, Tesla technology, and before anybody talked about cold fusion, we had people there doing it on a table saying, "See, it works." And going on about thorium reactors instead of uranium reactors. And so the guy who's walks around a lot and is growing his hair, and he was an economist for the rich guys. That guy did the same job I did, but I look like a homeless guy, and he wore a nice $150 suit all the time. I mean, he knew how to. Meaning, I'm sure we got paid the same. I probably had more access than he did, and I could say whatever I wanted, and I would, publish my papers to specific people, not to the rest of the world, but to them, and they would say, okay. I had to save. I gotta find Michael. Even when you're typing it in big letters. Let's find my glasses. The one thing about living in your car, it's like it's all here. People who have houses have more to look for. I will read some runes on this visit. This is going to be a relatively short one because I don't know how much battery I got left here. So I went to the doctors, and my legs are still good. You know, the guy said, "Yeah, you really need new shoes, but you're gonna have to wait till February to get them because the federal government won't pay them." I said, "So how about me?" He said, oh yeah, you can pay." And so I had these other shoes, and I said, "How about using these?" And he says, "Well, those shoes I can't make an opinion on because they aren't shoes that I have made a prescription for, right?" And I said, "Okay, nurse, get out." So I said to the guy, "So just let me put them on. You look at them, and all I have to do is like kind of go like this or like this, right?" So I did that, and he kind of said, he said all of them above, and it was, and that's medicine today. When he saw the shoes that he gave me, he said, "Yeah, they're shot. They're like making your feet go sideways." I said, "That's not good." And I said, "Well, how about here it is, almost December, and you said I can't get the shoes until January. How about it takes about a month and a half for you to, you know, get this stuff together. How about just measuring me and start the paperwork now?" So I can't do that. Got to wait. The date has to. How about posting? No, we can't do that. So that's it, kids. What can I say? Why did I put my glasses? Anyway, so I can't read it that way. So let's see. How to speak. I would rather talk to Johnny recently. Have I talked to Johnny recently? Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him the other day, and I played him what's her name's song about L.A. This ain't no disco. This ain't no country club. This is L.A. What's her name in the '90s? Sheryl Crow? No, yeah, it might have been Sheryl Crow. Anyway, so I talked to him, and I said, "John, all of your little videos are great for TikTok. Why don't you put them on TikTok?" Well, I want to make them a full length. No, John. You want to get some notoriety. You want somebody to give you a job. Put you in a movie. I mean, because John could be in movies, really. I mean, and I said, go back because he saves all his stuff. He just doesn't show it publicly, right? He shows it for a little bit and then gets embarrassed or whatever and takes rid of it. And I mean, that one about the squirrel, that was, I mean, if he were to take little snippets of, if somebody in my stream sends me this thing that has about between 5 and 20, less than minute things, and it's bang, 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 and really makes an interesting, if I had any kind of editing stuff, I kind of would do that, but I don't. So I mean, I have access to the internet maybe 5 hours a week, give or take. Right? So this is what I do, and that's where we got that. So there's a show on public radio, on my public radio station out here in Tennessee. I live about 50 miles from Johnson City, and they have ETSU, and they have a very solid. I really love their radio station. And so here's Scott. I like Scott.
History if you're not being accurate and true. Let's use slavery as an example. So as flipping through this book, reading about how it's teaching about stuff, I come to page 128, where it's talking about slavery. And in particular, it's comparing and contrasting America to Britain in terms of how we treated slaves, whether we had slaves or not. And it's just amazing to see this diagram at the bottom where they talk about Britain on the left side and America on the right. And they're talking about the different social systems and different classes that existed in the two countries. So here on the right with America, we have all these slaves in early America. Look at all the green. It's horrible. And it was. I'm not trying to diminish how awful slavery was. Yet there's no green on Britain's side. They have a lot of blue, servants, laborers, and the poor. But this chart is intending to teach that there were no slaves in Britain. Huh? There were slaves in Britain. There were a lot of slaves in Britain. Go read William Wilberforce's story about him trying to fight for years, decades, for the emancipation of slaves.
Yeah, how about that?
Nuclear weapons to degrade, destroy, and demolish Gaza. This may sound like a ridiculous question. You're the world-class UN nuclear inspector. Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Of course they do. They've admitted having nuclear weapons. They have a policy of deliberate ambiguity, meaning that they officially won't say we have the weapons until they do. For instance, in 2004, Prime Minister Ariel Sharon all but admitted he put Israel in a class of nuclear weapons states. In 2006, Omer, the other prime minister, came after him, did the same thing, spoke about Israel as a nuclear power. Israel has on occasions brought out their in Gulf War, 1991, Israel trotted out the Jericho missile and fired it, a test fire from their launch site into the Mediterranean, the exact range between Israel and Baghdad, letting the Iraqis know that if they fire chemical warheads or biological warheads into Israel, Israel will respond with a nuclear weapon. So Israel has alluded to this, but the whole purpose of deliberate ambiguity is to create unknown. It's political. In fact, we knew Israel was developing a nuclear weapon. We knew from the beginning. JFK knew, Lyndon Johnson knew, Richard Nixon knew.
Ben-Gurion lied to JFK. I mean, that's a historical fact.
Well, he lied, but then he came and told the truth. He said what he said is we won't. And then Golda Meir did the same thing. They said we won't be the first to introduce nuclear weapons into the Middle East. Now, some people would say, well, that means they're not going to build them. But when pressed, Golda Meir's people said, no, possession doesn't mean introduce. So they're very clear about that. Possessing a nuclear weapon doesn't mean we've introduced it. It's only introduced when we publicly say it is and have demonstrated it exists. So the Israel concept is they can build nuclear weapons, they can have nuclear weapons, but they haven't introduced them until they've admitted they have them and they're preparing to use them, which is why this minister's statement caused so much problem, because we're at a point right now where Israel is coming close to the conditions under which they may have to acknowledge having nuclear weapons. If Hezbollah gets involved, and if Iran gets involved, we're looking at a scenario where Israel could suffer strategic defeat. And the Samson option, which is, of course, the deterrence model under which the Israeli nuclear weapon exists, it doesn't exist as a battlefield support weapon or things like that. It exists if Israel is about to go down, they will take everybody out. That's the whole concept, that they will hit Tehran, they will hit Cairo, they will hit Amman, they will hit Damascus, they'll hit Beirut, they'll hit Ankara, they'll hit anybody they want to, because they're basically saying, this is Samson taking down the temple, man. We are not going to go down alone. If we go down, you all go down, therefore we don't go down. And that is a very delicate thing, a song and dance that has to be done with the United States. And so for this minister to get out there and introduce the notion of the potential of nuclear weapons existing and being employed by Israel, even though he's not part of the decision-making cycle, that's why he was reprimanded. Not because he was saying things about killing Palestinians. The Israelis don't care. He introduced nuclear weapons prematurely. That's a decision that would be made by the Israeli government at a time and place of their choosing, and he didn't get to make that call. So that's why he got in trouble. But no, the Israelis have nuclear weapons. I think 60 to 80 is the number that they're talking about. Maverick disagrees. He's saying there's about 200. But I think the latest numbers are about 60 to 80 nuclear weapons in the. Yep, that's the. Again, when you take a look at the Israeli, they have a three-phased approach to their nuclear deterrence. The phase one is deliberate ambiguity. Yeah, we got them, but we ain't talking about them. And that just leaves everybody guessing. And it also makes it so that the United States doesn't have to hold Israel accountable for violating American nuclear non-proliferation policy. Because if Israel ever said we are a declared nuclear state, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty doesn't recognize them as such. Therefore, they'd be susceptible to mandatory sanctions from the United States. So we're playing a game. Nixon started it where, see no here we speak. We just won't talk about it. But now the Israelis face, so he can't be speaking on behalf of us or anybody else. He can only be speaking on behalf of Israel. So Israel's moved into phase two of their deterrencing, which is why the conditions we face today are very dangerous, because once you allude to it, the next step might be you're getting into demonstration. So the missiles may come out again and be test fired again, and then there might be an underground nuclear test to say, we ain't joking, we got it. And then if Iran continues to do this, the next step is fire the missiles, take out Tehran. Well, I can imagine it, because the Congress, I mean, let's just be frank here, Judge, they're bought out by the Israeli lobby. I mean, AIPAC.
I meant that I can't imagine Congress not giving the money because of this. Congress
No.
Dad, what's wrong with the telly?
Good evening, London. Allow me first to apologize for this emergency channel. I do, like many of you, appreciate the comforts of the everyday routine, the security of the familiar, the tranquility of repetition. Bloody hell. I enjoy them as much as any bloke. But in a spirit of commemoration,
Who's that, Mum?
whereby those important events of the past, usually associated with someone's death or the end of some awful bloody struggle, are celebrated with a nice holiday, I thought we could mark this November the 5th, a day that is sadly no longer remembered, by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak.
Just let me think.
In fact, even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way.
It's Chancellor Sutler.
Damn it! Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power.
Words will always retain their power. This is my protege.
Look at that. This ship is from Mondas.
It's a Cyberman. A Mondasian Cyberman.
Doctor! Doctor! Oh, doctor! Doctor! Okay, listen to me. I may be about to take that silly little gun.
You'll never forgive you, you know. You'll never set you free. Not when he discovers what you did to his little friend.
I haven't done anything.
But he did to his little friend. Pretty much everyone throws everyone under the bus, right? Unless you take an oath. Early on, I took an oath to do no harm. Right? You know, I have 3 little guardrails. You know, doctor, do no harm. 2, do not get involved unless you have a workable exit strategy to get the innocent folk out of harm's way. Right? Not for any other reason, right? To get the innocent folk out of harm's way. Number 2. Third guardrail, do not get involved unless you can do number 2 and 1, and you're going to learn something that will make things better. Those are my 3 little guardrails, right? I have no ideology. I have no belief structures. Those are my guardrails, period, right? So I learned very early how to shoot a gun, you know, in 3rd grade, when I came back into the human race and went to public school instead of Catholic school after that nun murdered me in 1st grade. And it took me 2.5 years to get put back together, right? I went to a Maryknoll Sanctuary in Garden City, Long Island, right? And for 2 years, they were like, I couldn't speak. I couldn't really see out of this eye. I couldn't really hear out of this ear. And they said, oh, no, those things work. They just don't work like they used to, like they're advertised. They do different, like this thing. I see different frequencies, right? So I can see, your palpitations of your heart, of your 9 pulses in your body. You have 9. You just don't have the cardiac pulse. You have 9 pulses. This eye can see them. This ear can hear them. This nose can smell them. I have a doggy nostril, right? I can smell like dogs. I can smell things that most people can't. And I couldn't speak because my esophagus was crushed. So I had to learn how to breathe through it in a different way. And I had to learn how to push air past my larynx in a different way. And so I did, and I really stuttered. So I had to rewire the little device up here and that's kind of where this comes from. So I can speak, right? And what I have to do is I have to think about what I'm going to say, get it all together, put it on a reel, play the tape, and it comes out my mouth. Right. That's why I can speak relatively succinctly and knowledgeably. And wow, this guy knows what he's talking about because I've already thought about it. Right. I've already processed it here through the mind castle, picked out all little bits of information, so I don't have to go. What's that guy's name? I still do that, but anyway. So, what is truth? Right. It's what pretty much right. And Rudy Giuliani, that guy, that I knew that guy before he became mayor. When he was a lawyer in the Justice Department in New York, he was a loser, right? I met him at a, Ralph Nader's. I was part of NYPIRG, New York Public Interest Research Group, in the 70s, right? And I was all about alternative technology. So I was all about nuclear power and all kinds of things that I was like, going to look into for NYPIRG and water too. And so Ralph sent us, a number of us, to Columbia, uptown New York on the west side there, near Bishop Kaufman's cathedral. And we went to this lecture of this really super duper duper super guy who is a Supreme Court judge, not federal, but I think state. But he had one of the biggest, most important corporate lawyers businesses in the world, right? He was all over the place. And so he comes in with it, not $1,000 suit, not a $3,000, like $15,000 suit. He looks good, old guy, right? Looks like God, pretty much. Walks in, and on the blackboard, there's this in big letters. It says justice, right? And he goes, he like loses his shit and he goes, who put that up there? Of course he did. He's doing this theatrically, and he's showing that law is more theater, because it's in a court. And what's a court? It's like a tennis court, right? And so he says, Larry, and he points the thing, and his assistant gets up there, and he is erasing the chalk of certain letters. So instead of the word saying justice, it says just us. And the guy goes on to say, this is what the legal proceedings are about. The law is just for us, no one else. 95% of the population are slaves, and they need to be controlled. And the ones who are, saying we want our rights, they need to go to jail or be assassinated. And this is what this guy's saying, right? And there was, everyone's in the suit. And he goes, if I hear anyone use the word rights or justice in this lecture series, your career is gone. I'll make sure you never get a job anywhere, period. Start, getting a job at McDonald's, And so everyone's, ooh, and who was there but Rudy Giuliani going, ooh, right? And there was a handful of us over in the corner, and we weren't wearing suits. We were just like there because we were sent to be there. We were almost cordoned off, don't go. That's a free speech group. Don't get close to them. You might get a cootie. And so there were a number of people who, later on, later, not real late, but soon, we were the cadre. We were a cadre. There was Gene Stilp, who's a great lawyer. I don't know where Gene is today, but he worked for Ralph, and he also worked for the guy with the curly hair who was the lawyer for the Chicago Seven, right? And Gene was part of that crew. And Harry Shea, who there's a film that was made in the 90s or early O's about a bank robbery, probably in the O's or the teens. And it was with our favorite black actor who played Malcolm X. And he's a New York City detective, right? And he's a smart guy. And a smart guy knows to stay out of push. He wants to go up in the ranks. So, he wants to be a cap. He's not, pushing it. But he keeps, he goes to this thing, and there's so many things wrong with this that he goes, there's something not right here. And as the movie goes on, what it is that's a bank that was owned by the Nazis. It's this really powerful guy, like Rothschild character. He in that bank, all the safety deposits, and the only thing that was hit wasn't the cash. It was safety deposit boxes, right? And so, and not all of them were opened, right? A number were, but not all of them. And so the cops are in there, and they take because the guys who came in all wearing jumpsuits and masks. So when the cops showed up, because pretty much everybody in the bank who was working there, who was like waiting online to get their money, they were hostages, and it became a hostage thing, and they were like going on about it. And then, they go on for hours, and our detective is there, Malcolm X, and he's he's not talking to him, but he's listening to a conversation. He's a detective, not the guy like me who's like the negotiator. But anyway, so they're going on, and then all of a sudden, big explosion, and this bank is downtown in the Wall Street area, right where the big statue of the Golden Bull is, right? And there's a bank there, that's been around since the Dutch time, and that's this bank, right? And the movie takes place in that bank, and they did it on purpose because that bank was 100% Nazi all during the frigging, World War II and World War One, and money was coming from the German folk, the same kind of whack jobs who run our government were whack jobs, causing those wars in the First and Second World War, because they were making money out of it. The guys who own RG Farben and all of those big industries, just like the guys who own Lockheed and Boeing and all, what Eisenhower called the military-industrial complex. And he should have taken it further and said, guys, this is a transnational group. They don't care who's fighting war as long as they're making money, right? And that's kind of where we're at. Let's see how much battery we got left. Okay, we got a good 20 minutes. So anyway, the movie goes on, and we find out this, and there's this character, this woman who played by Jodie Foster, comes in, and she is a political operative. And Jodie Foster was playing my friend Carrie Shea. Carrie Shea, the most powerful person in the New York Democratic Party, and she used to take me to parties to read people. She had a suit for me, right? She would take me to the barber, clip me down, put the suit on, and we go to these things. And all I would do is talk to people, and I had a little thing that I would make notes in, and she'd give me a list of people I should go talk to, and she would sometimes introduce me to people and have a conversation and let me, do my thing, right? And so, oh, this guy can reach your palm, right? And that was, the last thing that Carrie took me to was that thing where I met Hillary Clinton at the Panta Hotel across from Madison Square Garden, and their ballroom can stick 20,000 people into it. So every Democrat was there, and they were introducing Bill Clinton and Hillary to the New York Democratic Party, and they had him wired, and he was going to feel your pain. He was talking to everybody, right? And they had every faction, every type of Jew, every kind of every Italian, you name it, Irish. Every kind of faction in the Democratic Party was a union guy, commie, whatever was there meeting Bill. right? I feel your pain, right? And I'm there. She takes me up. I don't meet them. I'm taken up into the follow spot booth, and there's a table there, and there's two other guys, one in a $100 suit, another guy in a J.C. Penney suit, and me wearing shorts and looking like this. And there's a cooler over there, and there's these two guys, and they're really, they're wearing these headsets, and they got binoculars. They're looking around, and they're making notes, and they're like me, So they are a guy who can read people, right? But one's an FBI guy, and the other guy, he's more probably NSA, right? They don't talk to me at all, not at all. I walk in, they kind of give me the stink eye. I'm sitting between them, right? So I sit there, and I'm looking around. I put the headphones on. There's nothing on. And, I get the binoculars. I look around, nothing. And, oh, look, a cooler. I open it up, and I say, hey, is this for us? And they kind of look at me like, give me the stink eye. And I said, do you guys want any of this? And they, so I haven't really eaten in a day or so. And so I eat the sandwich, drink the soda pop, eat the cake. And I'm just having a good time. And then the guy like, knocks on the table like, hey, it's starting. So I kind of, we're all in roly-poly chairs. So I roll over to there, put the headphones on, and I can hear Bill Clinton. They have him wired. So I hear him. So I'm looking, and I got this thing of all these people's pictures of all the different Democratic guys, blah, blah, blah. And I'm supposed to write things, and I am, and basically after about 3 minutes, I start scribbling down what I think about Bill and Hillary, because that's, Carrie already knows all the guys in that room except for Bill and Hillary. She wants to see the response. And I do. I said, this guy's a sociopath. He can make everyone believe that he feels their pain. He's the perfect politician. And the woman, God, I have no idea what she is. She's like extraterrestrial, a demonic force. I have no idea. I can't really peg her, but it's Anyway, so I'm watching this. And then the guy over here in the $50 suit, the FBI guy, I hear him, like really farting. He's smelling, and I'm looking, and there's like this river of, diarrhea coming down his leg, and it's like oozing towards me. I kind of roll back, and I'm by the door, and all of a sudden, the other guy in the $100 suit, the Mr. NSA or whoever he was, maybe corporate boy, he steps up and he fire hoses vomit out of his mouth, because they've taken whatever, there's no screen or windows, it's just open, and they've moved the follow spot, the Super Trooper, to the back of the room. And he just, so who's ever down there is getting like rained on. And I'm just wearing flip flops and shorts and a t-shirt, and I got long hair and a beard, and I'm probably 20 something, maybe 30, and I kind of just roll back, and I get up and I open the door, and who is there but Hillary? And she goes, I hear you read palms. And she has her security, these two big hulky guys with black sunglasses. They look like this, right? And they got a thing in their ear, and they're talking in their sleeve. And I just blow right by them, fly across the ceiling of this place, hit the stairs, zip down the stairs, out the back door, run the 30 blocks to my house, and hide under the couch, right? About 4 days later, I hear, on my door, and there's Carrie Shea, and her, she had her own guys who were like this, but they were New York City policemen, right? So, she goes, what happened? Those guys nearly died up there. They thought you killed them. I said, no, baby. I said, I don't know what happened to those guys. It was like one guy nearly shit himself to death. The other guy vomited himself to death. And, if someone was to be poisoned, it was me. I ate all the sandwiches out of that cooler. I drank all that soda. I ate all that cake. If anyone should have been poisoned, it should have been me. But no. And then I met Hillary. She's a psycho. And so that was it. I said, that's it, Carrie. We're buds, but I'm not doing this anymore. This is too scary. So, and I'm up for scary stuff, but because I went to things that were like, you know, what's that thing with Tom Cruise movie? You know, when they blindfold you and have sex with you. I met politicians like that, guys who were on the Lolita Express. I met those guys, and I met other guys. Uh, what's his name, who got whacked in that prison, and he didn't get whacked. No one's. I was a electrician in Local 3, and we wired that bill. That thing was up until that guy Jeffy. Up until Jeffy was whatever and rolled out of that place. No one ever was able to commit suicide there. They had a protocol that, because those were high level, it wasn't like going to the tombs, right? And so something, murky happened with Jeffy because of what he knew, right? And I'm sure he had a lot of stuff buried because, he was a guy who was upper middle class, went to a prep school, and then went to a college, and then, met somebody. And within 8 months, he was a billionaire. Brilliant investment. He never invested anything, but he had $1 billion. And he set up this whole Lolita thing to blackmail people. And so he had been at it for a good 20 years. So what truth is it, right? So, that's how I met Rudy. And Rudy was part of that whole, scene, right? And they all are. There is no difference between, there's a great book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. And before anybody was talking about conspiracy theory, Gary wrote this book in the 60s, right? And he said, left, right were just two wings of the same corporate bird. He, I, and a bunch of other people were, itinerant scholars for the CFR, right? And when I hear people talk about Bill of Behold the Pale Horse, I knew that guy really well because I was part of, in the 80s, a crew. Now they have all these we were the first conference guys of the alternative, right? Of alternative aesthetic. I mean, I read this whole thing about the alternative aesthetic, right? And that's what we're experiencing, right? And it's not politics; it's an aesthetic thing, right? And I wrote a ton for all of these guys about aesthetics, and I see it being played out in front of me now. It's not like I invented this; I was just observing it and critiquing it, because I see it, was happening back in Mesopotamia, right? And so nothing is new under the sun, and everything is there. Nothing is hidden. You can see all of this stuff, but nobody wants to look because they're so comfy in their little prejudice. And what is prejudice? When I talk to people, oh, you're pretty prejudiced. Well, I have some black friends. No, that's racism. Prejudice is when you only believe or only want to know what you want to believe. That's prejudice, right? At your own expense, right? That's you're endangering your own self there, kids. Let's see. Where so Johnny Boy, doesn't realize, but he is actually, I keep saying this for the last 5 years, John is the canary in the, coal mine of the hidden hand. He is, you watch the things. That's the real reality, kids. The people running your world are like John Birmingham when he bleaches his hair. I don't know what's going to happen to his hair. He's bleached that shit so much in so many weird ways that it's not good. I think, pineapples are going to start growing out of his head. So what's truth? Hey, everybody, there's Fritz. Hey, sweetie. Just love. Yep, that's every one of these shows I've done. The description thing is, I said, love is all there is, right? I have usually a topic, today's is what's truth. And anyway, so I'm in pretty good shape. This morning I woke up, it was 17 degrees outside. right? And one of my tires, if it's cold, it's nearly flat. I had to drive about 20 miles with a flat tire. It wasn't flat, it was just kind of flat. And when I got to the gas station that pumps it up, it was like, at 10 pounds. And so I had this other tire that looks pretty good. I said, can you put that on? The guy goes, no, the date of it, it's like, 6 months past the time we can put it on legally. I said, so to look at, it's got dry rot? No, it looks pretty good. Go find somebody who knows how to do it who doesn't worry about that. It's like, that is the whole thing. Drive a tire that will probably kill you, or put this other tire that would take him all of 5 minutes to do because he's got all the right tools and everything. It's a tire shop, but he can't do it by law, right? Because the tire guys paid the politicians off to make this law that says that tire can only be put on, in 3 years, and you got to throw it away. So, and my whole, like my thing with the doctor today, I brought a bunch of shoes, and so I can't talk about that because those aren't shoes I prescribed, so I have no responsibility, and I can't take any kind of a responsibility for them because you could sue me if they hurt your foot, so you can't do it, And so I put them on, and I tried. It was like I was like on the runway, I was like walking around saying, I said, okay, nurse, get out. And it was just him and me. I was walking around. So is this one any good? And he'd go, or, so that's kind of where we're at now. Me, I'm just your humble Al Bob, double doctor, sensei, griot, out in the woods telling you stories, right? And going up on the World Wide Web. And I'm telling you guys, you better start saving these things. Go back. I have everything is public. I've not taken, there are a few that somehow I hit the wrong button and it didn't go up for some reason. But pretty much, I have more than 2,000. YouTube says, oh, you're getting there, 1,894, but, I have, and they're all there. One time I kind of looked at, yep, that's it's like Pink's song, "Stupid Girl." It starts out with some rapper going, and I love Pink. She is, in my mind, one of the best poets of her time, right? And she's righteous, with her money and her actions and her thoughts and her deeds, more than most, and I like her. I like her a lot. So, and same with the girl who wrote "And This Is L.A." That whole album is what's her name? Let's see, Sheryl Crow, I think is her name. Let's see.
The thread in terms of educating our students about why it is that we protect freedom of expression in this country and what that's going to look like on campus.
And then you have some of the students saying, well, all this speech is not being treated with the same disciplinary actions right now. Is there censorship or a denial of free speech do you see happening?
There are incidents, for example, at Hunter College, they canceled the screening of a documentary.
So, hit it. Ain't no disco. Ain't no country club either. This is L.A. And that was John Birmingham who said that. I just want to have a little fun before I die. And he can't. He just doesn't do it. He's in L.A., This is LA. I love LA. It's the only place I can, he's like, Anyway, so, but that's John, always rooting for him. But it's as with us all, we all are the decider for our own life, right? Problem is, most people aren't conscious enough to make those decisions. They let themselves be manipulated into the circumstances there are. And the film The Matrix is very good because it really does give the peripheral point of view. And as things were coming down in the universal, the powers that shouldn't be had to, in a certain sense, give a tip of the hat to, hey, this is what's going on. But it's only a movie and it's only Hollywood. And that's why they invented Hollywood. Hollywood is, the wood that makes magic wands is the holly tree, right? So that's why it's Hollywood. It's a magical thing to make you do stuff that those guys want you to do, right? So, but me here, I'm telling you stuff that don't believe a word I say. Check it out for yourself. And so, yes, I'm seeing that there will be, the only way, see, if in Israel, if Bibi doesn't completely, and I showed you those images, blurry images, go start, if you have any kind of self-respect and self-esteem, go online and look at images of what's happened to northern Gaza and Gaza City. And it was, take a look at what it was before October. It's a nice city, actually, even though it was the world's largest prison concentration camp. It was, they were making it pretty good. And what's interesting is that, Israel was, funding of that and allowing one of those Emirates to dump $1 billion a year so everybody could have drinking water and not die, and things were semi-okay. But Israel basically cut them off, meaning they were, it was like, back in the days when the Romans would, go to a city and put their army around them and then let the people in the city starve to death. That's what Israel was doing. But they had their Al-Salio tanks, which are really, hot-ass tanks, pulverizing everything and hitting it with artillery, and F-16s coming in with JDAMs and just pulverizing everything and not really hitting Hamas at all, right? And this one guy, I showed him the guy who I was like having a little discussion with, and I was just videotaping the ceiling of the car. That guy, he said, no, they're going after, they're using, penetrator bombs. And I said, what about this building just collapsing? No, that Hamas was underneath it. That's, no, they haven't really touched the Hamas. And they can't. And even if they did kill every one of them, Hamas is an idea, right? It's a concept. It's not people. And they have so screwed all those, they've killed umpteen thousand kids. So there's another triple umpteen thousand kids who aren't dead, but they're missing an eye or an arm, or mom and dad are dead, and their little baby sister, they saw her get exploded. They're not going to like the Jews too much, right? So they're not, they're going, so Bibi, the only thing he can do is kill 2.7 million people and obliterate that place, and then scrape it clean and move, a amusement park in there, hire Disney, right? So that's Bibi's plan. And if he stops bombing, the Israeli people are so pissed off. The next people he'll have to bomb is the Israeli people, right? So, bombing, perpetrating the war the way he's doing it right now is pretty expensive, and it's costing soldiers' lives. We're not talking about how many IDF guys are dying, but I would say probably a good deal, right? Even though they're doing their best to fight everything from a tank and not get out, they have to get out every now and then. And I would say they have lost a good deal, more than the number of people that were lost, on the 7th, right? And a good deal of those people, if you were to investigate, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of forensic information, even though Israel is trying their best not to let it out, that Israel knew this was happening, but they put it in they're so stuck on that we're so hot shit, we got all this high technology. They put in their computer, and the computer said, nah, it's not going to happen. Even though Israeli, Mossad saw them, for a year, practicing for this, right? With the hang gliders and the motorcycles, and they put up fences and blew them up, and they did all. I mean, Israel watched them do that, so they knew they were going to do it. And then they saw that men and materials were being, brought to their place where they're going to go through defense. And they knew this. And they said, nah, they're not going to do it. I mean, we have been giving them money. Everyone in the Gaza Strip are living better than they ever have. They would never do it, right? Well, Hamas knew that this was their last shot because, good old, if you think Donald Trump is a, man of the people, billionaire who made it himself, no. He's part of the club. He's just part of the neo-insane clown party club, right? Along with Georgie Porgy and Mr. Rumsfeld and Dickie. And so basically, how much electricity we got left here? Oh, we're getting close. So again, none of this is new. You can go back and see, all of these wars. 160 million people died in World War II. World War III, I would say they want to kill 3 billion people at the least. Georgia Stone said take the population down to 500 million. So, I'm old enough and I've died so many times. Whatever happens, and that's why I picked this place out here. This is pretty survivable. I have spring water, right? No, if everything goes down, I still have spring water. I can collect water from my roofs. I have catchments. I'm not going to drink that because it'll be, it's already, but it flushes my toilet very nicely, right? Washes things very nicely. But my drinking water comes from a very protected spring, right? And so doesn't pump out a lot, but it pumps out more than I need, and I have a nice little catchment, about 100 gallons. So I always have, it's underground. So it's, it's above me. So water comes out of the spring. I built a nice little spring house. It dribbles into that catchment tank and, it dribbles down in a hose to where I use it, and I put it into jugs. So I keep it by where I cook. So that's, the stuff I drink and I cook with, right, from the spring. I've had it tested, they say it's ooh la la. So nuclear war, not a problem, right? I mean, I'll die from radiation after a year or two, but, still be around to, write the novel. I got photocells to at least, charge up my, my electronic devices. And I have one of these very cute, everyone should get one, an EMP resistant little bag. It's like a Faraday cage, right? And my laptop slides right into it. I can put my phones in there and whatever electronic goodies. It got Velcro, so you could bang, nuclear weapon, not touch it. Everything else is going to be deader than a doornail that has a semiconductor in it, but my boys will be fine. And I also have these great thing called windjammers. And really, they put them on sailboats that go out to sea, and they do a great job of charging up stuff. And I have some real deep cell batteries that I have protected, and I don't have them hooked up to anything. But once things calm down and I get the windjammers going, I'd hook it up to the batteries and then hook that up to my 12 and 24 system, and everything will be fine. And I have a bunch of light bulbs, right, that are in package EMP packages that will survive, and I'll have light. So I'll have light. I will have things to charge up my devices. My devices will be relatively safe. I'll have water, and that's what it's going to be. And what I really see happening is, global warming. No, forget global warming. It's we're go watch Art Bell and what's his name who wrote Deliverance, not Deliverance. The guy who got abducted by flying saucers, who was Art Bell's buddy, Whitley Strieber, right? That guy. They wrote a great book called The Day After Tomorrow. Then it was made into a movie. Go watch that movie. That's what's going to happen. And because it's happened to the planet before. Everything that's going on now is not what we're like salt on a potato chip. Kind of a tasty, interesting, but not that big a deal. And there's so many planets out there with so many people on it. It's like, I would say a majority we haven't been contacted because we're not that interesting. We're not really at a space and time. Even our nuclear weapons, yes, it has effect dimensionally, but they can protect from that. And they have shown us if it worst comes to worst, they can just turn up the switch on the nuclear thing, right? So, and they don't care about us. They really don't. Now, there's certain ones that kind of, because they feel somewhat responsible because they've been fooling around with us since we've been here. So, and my novels talk a lot about that, right? So, anybody wants to read anything I write, drop me a line at the dudeawake42 at gmail, dudeawake42 at gmail, and leave your phone number if you're in America, right? Because all my other, all the other things I used to talk to people in foreign lands, they've changed the protocol so much that I can't even keep up with it anymore. Even my PayPal, they've changed the protocol to the point I don't understand what they're talking about. We'll let you get money if you agree to this. And then, I go to read the thing I'm agreeing to, and it's 18,000 pages long. And in page 340, where I got tired of reading, they were talking about scraping all my digital everything into their, that, and they would own it, right? And it was like, no, I guess not. So that's why I really haven't been, until I can go visit my digital guru who can figure it all out. Not anyway. So that's about it. And let's see. So don't believe a word I say, and go check it out. Boom, boom, boom. Thanks, Jamie, for visiting. Thank you, Fish, and everyone else who's been here. This other person who I can't read. Oh, fucknuts. Oh, hey, Swami Fucknuts, how you doing? I've tried to call you a couple of times. You out of town? You on in another planet, another dimension? Where are you, Fucknuts? Swami Fucknuts. All right, guy. Right. But anyway. Maryland. Hey, Maryland. Are you living in Maryland or no? No. Double Doctor. Yep, that's me. So there's 3 of you there. 2 thumbs up. Some more thumbs up, King. Anyway, again, want to get a hold of me, the dudeawake42 at gmail. Let's see if anyone has come to visit at the Dude Awake. See who's there. Here's
To his little.
do. Brent Boy has sent a lot of stuff. This is the guy I was who always has to be right, and I keep telling, oh well, you're right. You're so right. You're right. Everything you say. I'm trying to make a point here. Well, you made the point. You're right. I want to know. I want you to. I love doing that to him. It's so much fun. Since I'm a cheeky monkey. Anyway, I gotta go. Let's see, how much juice do I got? I'm getting down that red level, so I hate it. My laptop can't stand it when it jumps out. Hot damn, yes. Anyway, talk to you guys later.